It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how are you doing? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Tuesday, May 2nd, and super happy for all of you joining us here today. And we are ready to start this day together with the Lord. So please subscribe on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So what are we going to do on this amazing and exciting Tuesday podcast? We have Provi in the media, the practical word study, and of course, commentaries and news on what is happening around the world today in this history. All right, so how are you doing, everyone? I hope you guys really enjoyed your Monday as I have. I'm just enjoying my time here. And I hope that you guys will continue to support us with your likes and your comments. Remember, this is not to build the channel because it's only for members anyways, right? So the building is only going to be amongst members. But, leaving likes, it shows me that you're listening or you like what I'm putting out. And the commenting, of course, we want to just build this community. Like, that's number one for us, building this community. And I'm really happy for everyone joining us every day on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up, support each other each and every day. All right. So, one thing I didn't bring up yesterday was it's already May, right? It's already May. And for me is I didn't really realize it until I started uploading and put the date up like, oh, it's May 1st yesterday. Wow. So I didn't really think about it, but March seems like it was yesterday when all the craziness happened, right? It was like, I can't believe we're already like almost 2 months removed from that leaders meeting video that came out. So, March was the crazy month. Everyone's dealing with it. April is the aftermath where we're kind of just dealing with what just happened from March. And May kind of feels like it's now the month where a lot of things have calmed down a bit more. We have a lot more information and we can kind of prepare ourselves for the next big thing that's going to come. And of course, there's going to be more stuff coming out. Like there's news all the time. A lot of it is kind of junky to me, but there's news coming out all the time. But we do know that there's going to be, the judge is going to make a verdict on Sunseem's trial too, right? So when that comes out, more stuff is going to come out again. But my feeling is we're not going to feel it as much as Korea because we're not in Korea. You know what I mean? Like the thing that affected us the most was what KJS did, her announcement, the leaders meeting. Like that was the thing that affected everyone. But the trial itself, because we're so far removed from Korea, we're just going to hear the bits and pieces of the news of it. And that's why I think we're kind of in a better situation being far away from it and not in that public outrage and opinion that's in South Korea right now. And I'm sure the closer you are to Korea, the more the difficulties and the rumors and the news you're probably going to find out, right? So, let's just really, at this time, as we're in prayer, let's really pray for everyone. Pray for everyone in Korea, the big three countries that are very, very close, and pray for each other so that we can really be able to overcome the next things that are going to probably Satan's going to do to come at us again. Oh, and in the comments, big happy birthday to Kiera, right? Kiera in New York. I'm happy that she said, oh, it's my birthday, but I'm even happier that there are so many people that responded to her and congratulated her. And that's kind of a big sign for me that this is a community and we care about each other. And I'm going to tell you this, our community, like the commenting right now, is so much more vibrant than it was before. Like usually in the past, it's just people do their own comments and it's done. Now, it's like people like other people's comments. They comment on other people's comments. And it's really nice. I feel like the community is building more and more. And that's something that I'm really, really proud of too, right? And I hope that we can continue to bring out more and more content that you got. This is for all of us together, right? We built this platform for the community of Providence. And, like I told you yesterday, 2 new programs coming out. Chelsea and Aaron have Love and Life. And that's going to come out from the middle of May. So that's going to be pretty soon. I can't wait for that, right? That's going to be perspective of a new blessed couple, how they're living their life, what love is like for them as a new couple. And I like this because the target is like career, people are about to get married or, they're going to get married soon, and also for people who are already married. And I hope in the future that they'll be able to interview other couples too, and they have their good times together talking about all the different things that they've gone through. I think that's going to be really cool. And of course, the man cave, we've already done 2 recordings of this, and we're going to keep building more and more of this also. But all of you guys out there, this is this community. I hope that all of us can build it together. So just like Chris, who's doing comedy, just like the musicians like Rapture Collective, the Sumney Boys, Renee, all of them that are doing music, right? Dr. Zini, right? Oh, there's so many amazing artists we have. And then also, if you want to do poetry, I know Chris did poetry from Australia. I hope that he can do some more poetry too. And I have someone else who is going to be, we're going to put up another poetry, a new poem that was made from someone who is in New Zealand at the moment. So that's going to be a really cool one. I can't wait for that one also. And, if there's any new segments, things that you think are going to be really cool that people would enjoy, I am all down for it. Would love to sit down and discuss with you about these things happening also. Right? So, anyone out there, if you have anything, like, remember the man cave, and then we want to have a girl one with 3 or 4 girls talking about it and reacting to the guys' videos and stuff like too. I would love to get that girl section. We have one person who's already on board. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and DM me too. All right. So for me, it's been less than a week here in Canada, and the jet lag's been quite interesting. Every day so far for the last 5-6 days, it's all 7 p.m. is my time where I'm about to die. Like my head is like slowly spinning, and I can feel something coming onto my brain kind of thing, right? And I'm just like, wow, like I can feel like I'm ready to crash. I'll take a shower, I get myself ready, and I try to push like not sleeping a little bit longer and longer. And I sleep around 9 to 10 p.m. right now, but I'm struggling at that point. And I wake up like, 3-4 a.m. and I'm just up the whole day, right? Which I think is a great schedule. I work out in the morning like 6-7 a.m., go to a cafe, work on the podcast. And, I enjoy the schedule actually. I just don't like being like that jet lag feeling at 7 p.m. I wish it happened around 9. 9 would be perfect for me, and I think I want to adjust myself to that level. And they say that your body, it takes, on average, about a day per time zone. So it's like an hour per day. So if I'm 15 hours away from Malaysia, that's going to be 15 days around there. So about 2 weeks. So maybe a little bit more than a week. Maybe another 10 days before I'm fully acclimated over here to this time zone. So, yeah, I'm not having too much expectation. I'm a little bit older now too, so I think it will take the full 14, 15 days. Either way. But, there's something, being in Canada, like after being in Malaysia for so long in Southeast Asia, it's really warm, tropical weather. Every day is shorts, t-shirts, and sandals. Man, I'm starting to get used to some things that I'm not used to. Like, there's no air conditioning here. There's zero. No one has air conditioning. So it's cold. Like right now, it's like 14 to 16 degrees every day. My nose is stuffed right now. I have my nose stuffed with pieces of tissue right now because it keeps running, right? Even in my house, wearing socks all the time, wearing pants, which I haven't done in years. And I don't really go out that much because I have everything I need inside my house. I rarely go out except for like exercise and go get a coffee. That's about it. So it's quite interesting to see the difference in change. But the outside looks really... Oh, also another thing is it's dry weather here. It's not tropical, right? So my skin is dry and I have to lather up on the moisturizer because it's way drier than it is in Malaysia. But I'm just kind of getting used to it. Oh, remember yesterday I told you about the rumors, right? Remember I told you the rumors, like some person from Taiwan called me and said, oh, I heard you left Providence and you wrote articles and you believe KJS, whatever it is, right? So I talked to another friend from Taiwan, a leader, and I said, hey, this is what this person said. And this person's like, oh, that's so crazy. But then they said, oh, wait, I've heard that too. And I was like, really? But it's not from Taiwanese people, it's from Korean people. Right? So even Koreans are saying that the rumors, I guess, comes from Korea that I left Providence. So guys, just want to let you guys know that I've left Providence according to Korea and Taiwan and some other countries too. But I had no idea. It's actually coming from Korea that I'm no longer in Providence. It's a Korean rumor, not just a Taiwan rumor, whatever it is. If it's from Korea, then I'm pretty sure that there are people in like Japan and other countries that are all saying that I'm not in Providence also, and that I believe KJS and stuff like that too. So I guess everything I'm saying is fake. All the things I did to support something are fake, right? All the mental exercises, I guess it's all fake because apparently I'm not in Providence. Woohoo, right? So it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird to me because I know so many people in Korea and not a single person has asked me, like, hey, I heard this. Are you in Providence? Right? But then I also understand because it's crazy in Korea, right? It is. Yeah. So, I found that to be quite interesting also. Oh, today, Provi in the Media, great article. It's actually an interesting article. I'll put the link in the description below too. You can read it. It's in Korean and it has a Google Translate at the bottom, but you're going to have to kind of deal with the Google Translate because it's not perfect, right? But this one news agency has put out a bunch of different articles that are saying how weird it is, this trial and all the news that's coming out in the media. And it's supporting Sun Sin more than anything else. So I'm going to read this one. Really, really good one that came out. And it's talking about the reality of the false reports. And it talks about, is there a separate truth? And that's something I think is very, very interesting. But I'll go over this one too. Thank God there are going to be some like people supporting, not just believing everything the media is saying. Because so like when the way that this article talks, it's like, yeah, it makes so much sense. Like this person's very reasonable too, right? So I will get into that for the last section today on Provi in the Media. And of course we have practical word study and that's going to be the second section today. So I hope you guys enjoy this. So, let me talk to you about a conversation I had with a member, right? Very, very interesting. I love talking to members, just discussing, seeing what's going on in their lives. And it's cool. I really think that it's something that's really beneficial that we can share with each other too. Of course, I'm not going to give names, countries, or what's the actual issue. But as I was talking to this person, we were talking about the problems in life, right? And one thing that I really like about Providence is that whenever problems happen, we always look to ourselves first of what can I change? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a very, very good part about Providence. We try to change the things that we can change. Now, that's a good type of thinking. However, sometimes when I was talking to this member, I can see sometimes how our thoughts can become dangerous. And what I mean is, yes, it's good that we think and we look to ourselves first and say, oh, what can I change? All these problems are happening in my life, right? But sometimes our thoughts become dangerous because we cross certain lines when we start to think that God himself is judging us and this is why we're suffering right now, right? Where we're like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? Did I sin last year? Did I not live the right life of faith? Is this why God is judging me right now? And I think that could be a very dangerous way of looking at how our interactions are with God, because if you start looking at God in that way, then God becomes this scary God, like, oh God, did I do this wrong? Oh God, please don't judge me here. Oh, please don't judge me. And the question that I sometimes see when I talk to some members is they're thinking that God is always judging them. Why am I going through this difficulty? Is it God judging me? Right? And the real question is that really the reality? And, I think one of the biggest things that people don't talk about enough is the difference between God's judgment. There's direct and indirect. Obviously it's all from God, but the way people talk about it, it's like God is directly watching me with fiery eyes, and when I make a mistake, he's going to punish me the next year, or this is why I'm being punished right now, right? So, I think one of the things that we have to recognize in our hearts and our minds is, God's judgment. Is God's judgment really just anything bad that happens in our life that's from God? And the answer is absolutely not. It's not like that, right? It's when we look at the way that we've learned in this history, especially with the predestination lecture, it's more that there are multiple different levels of judgment, right? Because when you look at the world today, God installed when he created this world, in this universe, there is a principle of action and reaction, right? What you do and the consequences we face because of our actions in this world. And if you look at the three, I'm going to talk about three different levels of truth or laws that we have to abide by or we get judged, but it's all based on truth, right? When there is truth, anything that goes against truth will not work, or it will cause pain and suffering. So if you go against truth, it causes pain and suffering. So, I know that there's more than three levels of truth, but I'm kind of simplifying it right now because, this is all coming from the lecture of 7 Steps of the Law. I know a lot of you guys out there may not have heard 7 Steps of the Law. It's one of the introductory lessons, but it talks about the laws that we have to abide by in our lives, right? And I'm gonna boil it down, the 7 steps, into 3 steps, right? Or 3 different levels. And the first one is the 3 different levels of truth that I'll talk to you about today. Number 1 is the truth of nature and science, which is physical law, right? It's the physical law. And then you have the second level, I think, is what you call like the truth of the heart, which is more of a mental judgments we go through if we don't follow the truth or the laws of the heart. The last one is the truth and laws of God, which is the spiritual level. And if you look at it in reality, the first 2 levels, the physical and mental, the truth of nature and science, and the truth of the heart, the laws of the heart, they are not about God literally putting a curse on you or literally God seeing these things happen and then cursing you and making bad things happen in your life. It's only the last one, which is more spiritual, right? And it's not quite what we think. So let's kind of just go over these 3 levels. The first one, remember, the original question is about, is God the one judging us? Is he actually judging us? That's the big question, is like, oh, is it because I didn't do this? And the answer is no, God doesn't literally judge us all the time, right? He just puts principles and laws in place that we need to abide by. So the first one is the truth of nature and science, which is all physical truths or all physical laws, right? So there is physical truth of nature and science, right, that we've studied and we've experimented on, so we realize, this is how the world works in this physical realm, right? So biggest example I always use is like flowers, plants, and trees and animals. There's a truth of how they're raised and how they're born, right? Making flowers, you need good seed, you need good soil, you need water, and you need sunlight, right? And without those 4 things, these flowers, plants, and trees are not going to grow. Right? Animals too. Animals need food. Animals need water, right? And animals, they need to hunt, or they're going to be hunted, or whatever it is. And that's the laws of how animals are made. If you're raising a pet, if you don't abide by the physical truth, right? The laws of nature and the laws of science, your pets are going to die. And it's not God judging you. It's just you didn't take care of your animal by feeding it like 2 times a day or whatever it is. If you have a dog, feed it 2 times a day. But if you only feed it once a week, your animal's going to die. And it's not God judging you. It's because you didn't follow the laws of nature and science. Oh God, I was trying to, we have a farm and none of our plants are growing. And people are thinking, oh, God made this happen. And the answer is, well, do you have good soil? Do you have fertilizer? Do you have enough? Are you in a place where there's enough sunlight? Do you water the plants enough? And if you don't do those things, you don't follow the physical laws of nature and science, it's not God judging you directly. It's you didn't follow the laws. And that's why it doesn't work. If you want to have a baby as a human being, there is a way the sperm and the egg have to come together. And if you don't follow those laws, you will never have a baby. It's not God judging. That's just the laws of nature and science that God has installed in creation. You look at physics, geometry, engineering, all these other different things. Yeah, if you don't follow the laws of like physics and such, geometry, then when an engineer makes a bridge, it's going to collapse. And you might think, oh, is God judging me? And the answer is no, he's not judging you. You just didn't follow the laws of physics, right? You didn't follow the proper engineering laws, and that's why your bridge collapsed. It's your fault. It's not God, destroying, God judging you like that. And that's something we have to realize is, that level it's not about God judging you. It's God installed the principles and laws of the world, and if you don't follow it, it doesn't work. Is it God judging you? Indirectly, but we have the answers. You can have all these things being successful in the physical realm as long as you follow the physical laws of nature and science. And the second law here is the laws of the heart, the truth of the heart. It's more of a mental thing. And it's about relationships. And the laws of the heart is how we treat each other, how we understand each other, having empathy, right? Knowing the laws of the heart when it comes to our relationships with each other. If these laws are broken, relationships are destroyed. That's the result of it. And it's not about God judging someone. It's like, oh, you did this, so I'm going to make all your relationships get destroyed. It's got nothing to do with that. It's more of, these are the laws of the heart. If anything else, Why would I keep a relationship with someone? Because this person understands me. This person knows me so well. This person treats me the way that I want to be treated. He knows my heart. She knows my heart. And that's why I'm close to this person. And if they break those laws, then I cut those relationships. It's just the way it is. This is why we have problems with friends, family, and people around us. Not because God is judging us. In most cases, not God judging us. In most cases, it's we have broken the laws of the heart, the truth that comes from our hearts. The only one that we have to think to ourselves is, oh my gosh, is God judging me? Especially when it comes to the laws and truths of God, right? Which is spiritual. Listening to the word, following the one that God has sent, right? And what is the ultimate punishment? God is, the ultimate punishment is not like you losing your job. The ultimate punishment is spiritual death. That's the greatest punishment. It's eternal. There's nothing that will be greater of a punishment than that. God is not going to sit there and say, oh, you didn't get the score on your SAT that you wanted. Yeah, that's because you didn't believe in God. No, it's got nothing to do with that, right? The greatest type of punishment God's going to do is the punishment of spiritual death. The laws of the Spirit, the laws of God are the biggest ones because it's eternal. Friends and family don't last forever. We don't live in our physical bodies forever in this world of nature and science. It's about this last spiritual law is when direct punishment comes in, right? For instance, if we have an idol, then, if we have an idol above God, sometimes God will directly punish us in that area, right? And it's not like, and God's not sitting there like every time you sin, God he's going to judge you off the top. No, if that was the case, how many times would we have been judged in our lives? It's actually interesting because when we go through our lives and we sin, when we're young, when we're like little kids, we think that God's going to judge us in the moment, like right away. But we realize and we're like, oh, God doesn't judge us. And as young and immature, we think to ourselves, oh, maybe God's not there because he didn't do anything when I committed the sin. When we realize later is God is giving us a chance to repent. So, the reason why I talked about these three different levels of laws is because it's showing that, God is not sitting there with fiery eyes watching you every moment, and every mistake you make, he's going to judge you, and that's why you're miserable today. It's not about that, right? We have to realize that in most cases, most of the laws are the physical and mental laws. Those are the big, there's so many of those. If we don't follow them, it doesn't work. It's just like driving. Laws, you stay, I'm in Canada. One of the other things I'm dealing with is driving on the right side, right? We're driving on the right and my steering wheel is on the left. Well, I'm getting used to this. And if I don't follow those laws, I get into an accident. It's hard, right? And that's something that we have to realize is, there's some laws that God has installed and it's basically about do you obey them or not? And if you don't obey them, it just doesn't work. But it's not God himself looking at you and saying, oh, these plants will never grow. It's more of, dude, you didn't use water, and that's why it's not growing. You know what I mean? So, is God judging us? Yeah, he's judging us all the time. Is it direct? Nah, it's not direct. Right? Most of the judgments we go through in life are not direct judgments of God. They're actually very indirect. It's just laws that God put in. And that's the reason why I'm telling you this is because I don't want you guys to start thinking that all these problems in my life is because of God and God is judging me. He's not that type of God. Remember, God is a God of love. He wants you to succeed. He doesn't want you to suffer. He's always waiting for you to repent. He's always waiting to that next level, right? And, I hope that all of us too will not get too much into that zone of God is doing this to me, God is doing this. And the answer is sometimes it's God, but in most cases we're doing things to ourselves. And when you listen to the words that we hear in Providence, that's why there's so much talk and preaching about fix yourself. This is where most of your problems are happening because you need to fix yourself and you're kind of destroying yourself because you're not following the laws of the heart, the laws between human beings, right? The law of the heart or the law of nature and science. And this is why a lot of things don't happen, the way that we want it to. All right. So I hope that's something that makes you think a lot more deeply and it kind of takes you out of that zone of thinking like that victim zone of God did this, God did that. God is not that type of God. God is an absolute God of love. All right. So, that brings us into the first break. Today's first break, just want to let you guys know too is now that, there's our channel is now monetized, right? We've hit 1,000 subscribers, which is really, really cool. And, we're putting up certain songs. And because we're monetized, I have to deal with like copyrights, right? And that's why I'm dealing with it right now. That's why some songs I can't play, or some songs I'll just do separately, put them on a Saturday for like music videos and such. But because of that, I'm dealing with a bunch of copyright issues and such. So that's why I'm putting less songs, and I'm able for all of us, to have a better podcast, as in we can have a better format for us. But that's part of the reason is there's a lot of copyrights and stuff like that I have to deal with. So let's have just a quick music break, and probably you'll see like a commercial in there too. But we'll have a quick music break, and we'll see you back in a bit.
Shared like photographs, they're clear in my mind. I will remember those times became our history, and they're recorded in eternity. Now because of you, I can live without worry or shame, for my whole life has changed. The dreams that we have hoped for until now, the will that we have kept without a doubt, they become my soul's melody, the beautiful song my spirit sings. The days when we took action side by side, the blessings that have now become all mine. I will live eternally, recalling those moments vividly. La 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 la, la 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 la. La 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 la, la 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 la.
So let's get into today's practical word study. And I know especially people are telling me that the word studies, practical word studies, these are things that people really want to hear and not get rid of from these podcasts. And that's why I will keep these sections in, because people like them. Right? So let's get into the practical word study for today with this week's message. Great message, powerful message. I know in every time period, God repays according to how they treat the one sent. And it's pretty straightforward. A couple things I wanted to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about this week's message when it comes to the practical word study is how much we need to change our perception. Right? Because when I'm thinking about the Sunday message, I listened to it. What I really liked about it was that it shows that the righteous always wins in the end. But it also shows that it's not going to be so simple, right? Like when we simplify this week's message, it's like, if you're righteous, if you believe in the one that is sent, then you'll be blessed, right? And in one sense, it kind of makes people think that we're not going to suffer, right? So, but when we look at the reality, when you look at this week's message showing about Moses and Joseph, Elijah, and other people, other stories in the Bible, we see that the wicked came against the righteous and they did suffer. Joseph was unjustly, sent to jail, right? He was unjustly tried. Jesus was the same thing, right? Moses was, they went against him, right? They went against Moses, Elijah, Joseph, Jesus, all of them, and they suffered before there was any glory. And I like this because our perception has to change, because sometimes we like to oversimplify things when it comes to the words of God. We just think that, you're on the right side because you're not suffering, or you are suffering. And we kind of boil it down to whether we're suffering or not, right? And if we oversimplify something, it's going to be basically turn into, if you are righteous, if you believe in the one that God has sent, then you're not going to suffer. And this is why even a lot of people right now at this time, that's what they're thinking. And that's why a lot of people are freaking out. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, am I in the right place? Because we think to ourselves, if God is with us, then why are we suffering? Why are we suffering if God is with us? Because right now, doesn't it feel like we're suffering and the evil ones are doing well? Doesn't it feel like that? And that's why a lot of people start to doubt or think to themselves, man, are we on the right side or not? Maybe the other side is right. But all throughout the word, even for the last 45 years, we've always heard the same story is Satan is 6 and God is 7. So Satan is always battling against us, trying to stop us until 6, which means that from 1 to 6, Satan is right there with us, but only at the very end, God goes to 7 and Satan stays at 6. And we win in the end. And when you look at every Bible story, it's always about the people of God suffering. As sad as, like, oh my gosh, do we have to suffer? No, that's what it is. But we win in the end like Elijah. We win in the end like Joseph. And that's kind of one of the perceptions we need to change is this suffering the sign? And the answer is no. In life, pain and suffering is normal. Regardless if you are righteous, regardless of you are wicked. It's like, what Jesus said, when God sends the rain, he sends the rain on both the righteous and the wicked. We both get the rain. We both get the flood. At the time of Elijah, 3.5 years of drought, it was both the righteous and the wicked who went through that drought. But the real thing we have to think about here, the core matter is, if everyone's going to go through pain and suffering anyways in life, where it's going to happen no matter what, the biggest thing that matters to us is it meaningful? That's the thing that we have to think about to ourselves is, did what we just go through, is it meaningful or not? So the question is like, well, what the heck is meaningful suffering? Because isn't just all pain and suffering just pain and suffering? And the answer is no. Sometimes it's worth it. The best example is like school. Think about that. When you go to school, and if you suffer, go through pain and suffering, studying night after night after night, but you get an A on the test, you're like, that was worth it. It was worth it, right? A lot of times when it comes to your job, slaving over your job, but then you get the promotion, it's worth it because there was something that you were going towards. The worst type of pain and suffering is when you go through something and you don't get anything out of it, and that's the one that hurts the most. Why did I do this? Why did I go through all this? And this usually happens when people quit in the middle because they didn't get to their goal. All that suffering, everything they went through becomes meaningless. We're all going to go through pain and suffering anyways, the righteous and the wicked. The real question is it worth it in the end? Did it lead to something greater, more noble? And this is why when you look at Jesus, he died on the cross, the worst suffering, but what did it lead to? Salvation for mankind. It was worth it to him. When you have children or loved ones, you suffer because the children are kind of crazy. But in the end, when the child is doing well, it's worth it because you love them. For us too, when you look at the greater plan of all things, what we're going through right now, the pain and suffering, but ultimately in the end, it's about God's will. Can it be fulfilled? Can we fulfill God's will? And if we can do that, then it'll be worth it. Just like it was a time of when Jesus was talking, he says, hey, guess what? All the sin, right, of all the prophets from Abel to Zechariah will be put on this generation. Why? Because all those prophets in the past, they went through their pain and suffering so that the people would receive the Messiah. So if Israel receives a Messiah, then all the death and the pain and the suffering of all the prophets in the Old Testament time is worth it because oh, thank God, we died for a reason and now our people have received the Messiah. But if they kill the Messiah, if they go against him, what's going to happen? Then all the pain and suffering they went through was worthless. We have to realize too that, we can't be too oversimplifying, if you're with the righteous, we're going to go through good things, right? And the answer is not really. Not really. It's just in the end. 1 through 6, we're going through it. But at 7 is when we're redeemed. At 7 is when we rejoice. And that perception has to change. And I think that's one of the first things that I thought to myself is, that has to change. Just because you're suffering doesn't mean it's wrong. Just because you're suffering doesn't mean that other side is right. Because if that's the case, then like I said, when it comes to school, then maybe school is wrong because I have to suffer to study. But it's right because we know that we're going to get a degree out of it. The wicked will come against the righteous. The suffering is going to happen to the righteous every time. All the people of God, they're all going to go through it. But our mind has to change. It's not, remember last week, Sunstream said in the message that, do not stumble on account of me. And he says, what does it mean to stumble? Is to be disheartened or to leave, right? But why? And he says, because of your heart, because of your thoughts, and because of the environment. And as human beings, the situation, the environment that we go through does change our hearts. The great thing about what Sunsteam said this week is, look at Joseph. No matter what happened, he thought there's a greater thing that God is doing here. There's a will, there's a purpose in this. And this is how he's able to make it through. And that's why he became so successful. And for us too, right? We can't be in that mindset of, we're suffering, something's wrong. No. If something's wrong because we're suffering, then there's something wrong with Jesus because he suffered even more than we did. There's something wrong with Joseph because he suffered a lot. There's something wrong with Elijah. There's something wrong with Moses because they suffered. But we see that in the end, God was with them. Yeah, they had the difficulties, but in the end, they brought salvation. They saved their people. All of them, every single one of them, they saved their people. And that was the greatest thing. And that's why all their suffering was worth it. And for us too, we kind of have to, I'm not going to say embrace pain and suffering, but looking for the message is, we're going to go through it. That's a guarantee. We're all going to go through pain and suffering. But the perception has to change is just because you're suffering doesn't mean you're wrong. Doesn't mean it's not the history of God. History of God has suffered constantly all throughout history. So that's kind of the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to the change of perception listening to this week's message of how we should live our life. But the second one I thought was a very, very good, interesting thing that the message talked about is whenever someone comes, the first question you need to ask is, who sent him, right? When Jesus came, it shouldn't just be like, who is this person? They start mistreating him and persecuting and all these other different things. They should have prayed and asked, who sent him? God, is this from you? And of course, in our lives, all of us that are listening right now, we've already gone through that when it comes to this history, but let's miniaturize it. This is something I think that we should really be thinking about more deeply. We pray for so many things to happen in our life. We pray for the difficulties. We pray because things aren't working the right way. But we too always commit the sin of conflict and ignorance, where we go against God because we go against the one who he has sent. Now, what does that mean? It's like, yeah, in the miniaturized scale, God sends us people in our life. He does, to help us. But we reject those people. The same thing happens on, like the same thing that what Israel did to Jesus is the same thing that we do in our smaller everyday lives. God sends people into our lives to help us because we prayed for it. And sometimes it's people we don't even like. But is that the issue? God uses the person that is able to help us, right? He works with what he has right in front of us. Just like that story when Sunsi was in China, they were getting served soup, and like there's not a lot of meat, and Sunsi was like praying like, God, please can I have some meat, right? And when it came to his time, they swirled the soup, and these little small chunks of meat came out, and they put it into his bowl, right? And you could complain and say, oh God, I really wanted meat, but all I got were these 2-3 small pieces, right? But then God says, no, I work with the situation that we're in. You might have gotten nothing, but I inspired the person to stir the soup to just get those pieces of meat just for you. God works with the situation that we have. God's not going to just bring Warren Buffett into your life to change your financial situation. God's not just going to bring like these rich people like the Mark Cubans or these billionaires because it's not in your realm. He works with what is around you, right? And that's why when God is working with those people, sometimes people we don't even like. But it's God helping us. The first question we have to ask is, who sent him? We can't think to ourselves as, oh, I don't like this person. It's got to be, who sent him? That's the big one. Who sent him? That's the thing that we have to think about carefully. And sometimes it's going to be people we don't like. But we have to ask that first question in the miniaturized scale of this week's message is, who sent the people in your life? And what is God sending them for if it's from God? We have to realize about that. It's kind of like, when Jesus said to love your enemies. That's Matthew chapter 5, verse 44. Jesus said, love your enemies, right? And when Sussim explained about this verse of why did Jesus say love your enemies? Jesus said love your enemies because the religious leaders looked at Jesus as their enemy. And he's saying, love your enemies, treat them well, pray for them, right? Because you have no idea who God's going to help you through. Love your enemies. It's going to be a hard one. It's one of the hardest ones to try to figure out, but that's reality. Even in Jesus' time, he was considered the enemy, and he's telling them to love their enemies because you have no idea, who sent this person. That they're the ones that came to help instead. And we have to realize that in our individual lives too. At your work, right? The CEO is not going to come down. No, he'll help you through other people that are in your area with the people that he can use. And we have to be those people who are spiritual, knowing what we pray for, praying solidly, understanding what we're praying for, and also whenever someone comes, we have to think in our hearts, first thing is, who sent him? Who has sent this person? Don't reject them right away. Don't think that they're bad. We have to understand first who sent him. Right? Who sent this person? And I think that's something that's a daily life learning lesson that we have to have when it comes to us understanding this history a lot more deeply, but understanding God's work in our individual lives too. Who sent him? And I think those are two things that we can think about when it comes to the practical word study. And I hope it's something that you guys can really understand at a higher level too. All right? So there it is, guys. That is the practical word study for today. Just 2 tips and 2 things that I gleaned from this week's message, and I hope it's something that you guys will learn from. Go ahead, leave a comment below. We'd love to hear what you think about the practical word study, or something else that you thought was like, oh, I think I got this from the message. Would love to hear that also. All right. So now that we're done with this, of course, we have the Provi in the media coming up next. So we'll get that right after this musical break.
Everything about me, through joints and marrow, right through my soul you see. You know my roots, my character, my sins, and yet you never held back from loving me. So used to receiving your love, but never really trying to know your deepest heart. For now, all I want is to have your thoughts, to match our heart. All I want is to be your counterpart, to love you with never changing heart. All I want is to be your counterpart. For your dreams and the work you want to do, I wish I could be worthy to be used by you. Though I know I'm lacking still, Holy Trinity, let me connect with you, to have your thoughts, to match your heart. All I want is to be your counterpart, to love you with never changing heart. All I want is to be your counterpart. Ooh, all I want is to be your counterpart. Ooh, yeah. To do your will, to share your heart. All I want is to be your counterpart, to live with you and never part. All I want is to be your counterpart, to have your thoughts, to match your heart. All I want is to be your counterpart, love you with never changing heart. All I want is to be your counterpart. Oh my dear Lord, all I want is to be your counterpart. Oh my dear Lord, all I want is to be your counterpart. To have your thoughts, to match your heart. I love you, Lord, I am now your counterpart.
All right, so let's get into today's last section, which is Provi in the media. And this is coming from journalists from a place called Break News in Korea. And I will put the articles, I'll post them into the description below. And they have Korean at the top and they have Google Translate on the bottom. So it's not like perfect English, but you'll get the gist of what it's saying. You have to read it a couple times, right? So this is from Break News. And I really, really enjoyed this. I really did, because they're talking a little bit more reasonably and not like this, like, oh my gosh, this is what happened, I can't believe this, but they're going into what is the truth, right? So the first article, it talks about the exaggeration of Sunstein and the reality of the false reports. Is there a separate truth? And one thing he does put in, he kind of says, do you think South Korea is so clumsy that one individual can sexually assault 10,000 people, right? So in this article, it says, recently there's a deviant article about CGM President Sunstein, like Jung Myung-suk, and articles countering this were also produced and reported one after another, right? So in particular, it's regarding the section, like Sunstein, who is a clergyman, who is a pastor, who has like sexually assaulted people. And the real question is it really true or was it manipulated? And there's a lot of suspicion. So let's take a look at, first of all, it is a problem, right? That the number of contacts of the opposite sex and the sexual corruption that is being stated, right? This is a problem. This is the first thing we have to think about. Many media outlets have claimed that more than 10,000 people have been sexually assaulted, right? And these are all reports related to Sunstein. The claim that more than 10,000 people have been sexually assaulted has already been reported by media around the world, recognized as fact and reported. However, when you look at these media's controversial reports, there's always doubt that all the content stated in the report are true. Is it really true? Or whether the report is false. This is because harsh claims that are not proven by the facts are also published in the claims of the person who reported the article. So the conclusion is different that all the facts in the article are not true. They're not. Reports related to Sunstein are all misunderstood as fact, but there are also some that are not 100% true. Like, look at the part of more than 10,000 people being sexually assaulted by Sunstein. This is highly likely to be false. This is because in the process of writing the article, the facts that were not revealed were packaged and reported as individual claims. So let's take a look at this let's look at this issue with common sense. And this is my personal opinion. So reports related, not my personal opinion, but the person reporting, right? Reports related to Sunstein are all packaged as facts, but that is not the truth. The phrase more than 10,000 people were sexually assaulted by Sunstein is in line with the phrase more than 10,000 people were sexually assaulted. He's basically saying that this is what they're trying to say. However, this part looks like a fact, but it's not 100% true. Why? Because the reporting and writing of all articles start with the common sense of more than 10,000 people were raped, right? Because he's also a human. He's not a god. He's just a human being. But how can he, who is only human, do that? The claim of more than 10,000 sexual assaults in the article is not 100% true. And even if it is stated as fact in the article, it's a story of fiction. So here's the thing. As this person's aware of, the total number of certified members of CGM is less than 10,000, which is not true, right? It's more than 10,000. But even in the statistics of church members that have been announced by national religious organizations, such statistics have never been announced. If not, does that mean he has been sexually assaulting people in the general society who are not members of his religious organization? Did he do every single person then? Let's just say there's 10,000 people, certified members. Then did he do all 10,000? And since he is a human being, the rape of more than 10,000 people cannot be true at all. Such claims are bogus. So he talks about Sunstein has been in and out of prison. And if he raped that many people, he should have raped at least 1,000 people in prison, which is a reasonable and correct number. However, the inside of the prison is an impossible facility for sexual assault of the opposite sex. Because what he's saying is, if he's doing 10,000 people, but 10 of those years he's inside prison, which you can't have sexual assault of the opposite sex because it's an all-male prison. That doesn't make any sense. And CGM also said in a press release dated April 22nd that no matter how big the media is, fabricated reports that deceive the people are bound to be exposed. Right? For instance, in 1999, 2002, there was a media station that has already compensated for damages of CGM. So they've already, in 1999, 2002, one of the media stations had to pay because they were lying, right? And then there's another media station who is still in litigation, but they have filed for an application for avoidance of trial, right? And, that CGM pointed out that while producing the press release, not CGM. The person from Media B also said that he broke into CGM without permission and filmed it illegally. And of course, he's talking about KDH now. It says, KDH, who took the lead in reporting corruption, he said, I have a number of evidence, including a letter of apology, right? So that KDH, let me repeat that. So the person who's in charge of KDH, right? Who's taking the lead in reporting corruption of Providence, right? This reporter says he has a number of evidence, including a letter of apology he sent to Sunstein and a transcript of his request for money. So there's evidence right there saying that even the person who's in charge, taking the lead, has apologized to Sunstein and also has requested, try to get money out of him. And then this person, who KDH, says more than 10,000 people claim to have been sexually assaulted, but so far no one has presented any tangible evidence like DNA extraction. And then he continued, even in the 10-year sentence of Sunstein in 2009, there was no evidence. So even in Sunstein's 2009 trial, there was still no evidence that there had been victims. No one had been victimized. And even one of the victims made a declaration of conscience that they falsely accused Sunstein. And then, of course, we have the Netflix recording file, right? And then this person's reporting the Netflix recording file that was submitted by Maple is not the original. It's just a copy. And the file, the file name, the structure, never seen before. The file structure is different from the collation file collected from the iPhone used by the complainant. And this is from an analysis of the National Institute of Scientific Investigation that came out. So when we understand this, it's like, wait, what the heck is going on? So when you look at American media, when reporting on sexual assault cases, it's required to disclose the identity of the assailant and the victim, accurately report the course of events, and in American terms, let's just say if Sunseam raped 10,000 people, then there's a victim list, including the names, the date, the time, location of 10,000 victims of sexual assault, and it should be drawn up in the investigation stage and handed over to the judge. However, there's no list. And even the people that have been listed are not clearly identified. There's no list, and it should be made public. And this is why there is such a huge gap, right? There is a huge gap between the facts and the truth in the reports related to Sunseam. Some media outlets report that Sunseam raped more than 10,000 people, and it's already spread around the world, and they all look at it as fact. But this content is fictional, but it's known as fact, even though it's fictional. Korea is a democratic country that is said to be the best in the world. It is by no means a country so clumsy that one individual can sexually assault 10,000 people. CGM also is expected to focus its efforts on correcting untrue fictional content related to its founder. And the truth related to this case will be revealed one day. But only in this way will the image of Korea, which is known to the world as a strange country because of Sunseam, will be washed clean. So, what we have to look at, what this person is saying is none of this really makes sense, right? How the media is reporting this and how it's being reported around the world as fact. And that's why the second report, you'll see from this same news agency says the media should be calmer in reporting the sexual assault case involving Sunseam. They should be much more calmer because especially there's no list, right? And also the second article, it talks about how they misrepresent and misinterpreted Sunseam's sermon. Because in Sunseam's sermon, we're talking about the history of lovers, right? That Sunseam says we have to make a history of 10,000 heavenly lovers, right? And we know what that means. As people who learn the word, yes, heavenly lovers. However, it was translated as 10,000 people to sexually assault. And basically, they substitute the words in the sermon. So this reporter saw the sermon and then sees how they misreported it. And instead of saying 10,000 heavenly lovers, they interpreted to 10,000 people that were sexually assaulted. So when you look at this, of course, there's going to be mistranslations when you translate foreign books, but the claim that Sunseam exceeded the number of sexual assaults by 10,000 people seems to fall under the category of misinterpretation so that people can misunderstand Sunseam's sermon. And of course, this second article goes into the list. There's no list of 10,000 people, and even the people's list, the name is not all there. So the gap between the factual delivery of the media that has already reported that Sunseam raped more than 10,000 people and the counter-argument presented by CGM, the gap between this delivery is so far off where people only hear the first part of rape, 10,000 people, and CGM's rebuttal, not even there. The gap is so big. It's too great and too far. The domestic media do not disclose the full name or the correct name on the family register of the victim who is said to have been assaulted by Sunseam. And there's an imaginary number of victims. It's an imaginary number, right? So, we have to understand this really well. Like, yeah, there's some people out there are starting to see something different. Like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. And I think we have to understand too is, a lot of times when the media comes out, it's pretty crazy the way they're delivering it. And we have to understand it at that level. at a much deeper and higher level. Like, yeah, this doesn't make sense. And I'm going to tell you this. Is kind of like how society is today when it comes to like woke culture and cancel culture, where your feelings matter more than the actual facts itself. When people are actually listing off statistics and facts, people are like, no, but I don't feel this way. I feel you have to do this. But reality is, we have to understand what the actual fact, like the process, the facts, how you're supposed to do things properly, but it's not being done in that way. And the way the media is reporting it is kind of bringing outrage to the public. Like the public trial is done. Everyone's against Sunstein. The public trial is already there. But we have to be those that understand, wait, there's something wrong here. And I like how this reporter is reporting this and looking at the factual evidence and common sense, right? And, you know, if it is 10,000, don't you think that makes Korea look that bad? Really? Like that all happened? So I hope it's something you guys can take a look at. It's in Korean, but on the bottom, there's Google Translate. But you're going to have to read it a couple of times to get the gist of what it's actually saying. Okay? So there it is, guys. That is Provi in the Media. Hope you guys enjoyed that article. That's kind of bringing common sense into the people there, and it's striking away that narrative that people are trying to make us see. All right? So there it is. That's the end of today's podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed that Provi in the Media. Have an amazing and awesome Tuesday, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know. I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm